Hello students, this is Dr. Ranjini, Assistant Professor in Biotechnology. Welcome to e-learning session in metabolism, that is cellular metabolism. In this semester, I'll be handling amino acid metabolism, lipid metabolism and nucleic acid metabolism. First in this session, we learn about amino acid metabolism. Metabolism is a series of enzyme catalyzed reaction which involves the degradation of biomolecule or the breakdown of biomolecules to simpler molecules, or else the construction or building of the biomolecule. So this metabolism, it's a series of enzyme catalyzed reaction which takes place inside the cell. Either it breaks down the biomolecule or it synthesizes the biomolecule. So the process which involves the breakdown of the biomolecule is called as catabolism. And the enzyme catalyzed series of enzyme catalyzed reactions which are involved in the synthesis of the biomolecule is called as anabolism. So, in general, metabolism is sum total of anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism involves synthesis of biomolecule. Catabolism involves the breakdown of the biomolecule to simpler molecule. Here in this session, in amino acid metabolism, we all know the classification of amino acids based on their requirement by the cell, like essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. Essential amino acids are those amino acids will not be synthesized by the cell, but you have to supplement through the food material. But the non-essential amino acids will be synthesized by the cell itself. But usually in starvation, tissue proteins are treated as food proteins. Tissue proteins are treated as food proteins. They are hydrolyzed to amino acids. But to a larger extent and at an increased scale than that occurs normally and constitutes the general amino acid pool. So during starvation, tissue proteins serve as the food proteins. So they are the sources of amino acids. For catabolism of tissue proteins, tissues are uniformly used. Tissues are uniformly used. Brain and heart are spared and only lose 3% of the total protein. Muscles lose 30% during starvation. Liver loses 55% and spleen about 70%. The breakdown of tissue proteins in starvation is controlled through the action of adrenal cortex or glucocorticoids. The released amino acids from the amino acid pool are used mainly for maintenance of the structural and functional efficiency of the organs, vital organs which are present in the body. Also utilized for the formation of enzymes and hormones which are proteinaceous or amino acid derivatives. And next, these amino acids in the amino acid pool will undergo deamination, that is catabolism, deamination, the removal of the amino group in the liver, and non-nitrogenous part will be converted into either the intermediates of a Krebs cycle, or they will be forming the glucose by gluconeogenesis, that is the carbon skeleton. They play an important role in maintaining the blood sugar level by gluconeogenesis. In prolonged starvation in human beings, gluconeogenesis from protein is diminished gradually due to reduced release of amino acids, particularly the amino acid alanine from muscles. That is the principal protein stores in the body. So during starvation, the tissue protein serve as the amino acid pool. So now, based on this, we will classify them essential and non-essential amino acid, and we know how these amino acids are used. Now, these amino acids are again classified depending on the carbon skeleton they finally converted into as glucogenic and ketogenic amino acids. Glucogenic amino acids are those amino acids Glucogenic amino acids are those amino acids. Their carbon skeleton will be converted into pyruvate, oxaloacetate, fumarate, succinyl CoA, or they may convert it into alpha keto glutarate or citrate. Later, by the process of gluconeogenesis, will be converted into glucose. Such type of amino acids are called as glucogenic amino acids. So this glucogenic amino acid category involves alanine, cysteine, glycine, serine, threonine, tryptophan, aspargine, aspartate, phenylalanine, tyrosine, isoleucine, methionine, threonine, valine. Totally around 13 amino acids will be converted into different intermediates of Krebs cycle. Later, by the process of gluconeogenesis, could be converted into glucose. Such type of amino acids are called as glucogenic amino acids. But there are few amino acids like lysine and leucine. Like lysine and leucine, these two amino acids will be converted into acetyl-CoA or acetoacetyl-CoA. But in this box, along with the leucine and lysine, there are other amino acids. I will be telling you about that in a few minutes. Leucine and lysine amino acid, these two amino acids, they degrade and they result in the formation of acetyl-CoA and acetoacetyl-CoA. Such type of amino acids are called as ketogenic amino acids. They are called as ketogenic amino acid. But in 20 standard amino acid, there are few amino acid where depending on the breakdown point in their carbon skeleton, either they converted into different intermediates of Krebs cycle, or else they may be converted into acetyl-CoA and acetoacetyl-CoA. Either they may act as ketogenic amino acid or glucogenic amino acid. Such type of amino acids are called as glucogenic and ketogenic amino acid. Now you're following. So one group is glucogenic amino acid. They form pyruvate, oxaloacetate, fumarate, succinyl-CoA, alpha ketoglutarate, citrate. So they are the different intermediates of Krebs cycle will be formed. They are called as the glucogenic amino acid. But leucine and lysine, they form only acetyl-CoA and acetoacetyl-CoA. They are called ketogenic amino acid. But few amino acids like phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan, these isoleucine, these amino acid, depending on the position of the degradation on their carbon skeleton, either they may form the different intermediate, they can act as glucogenic, or else they can act as ketogenic amino acid. This is very, very important as far as your short notes are concerned. These will be asked in the examination, like define glucogenic amino acid with example, or define ketogenic amino acid with example. Now we'll see the classification of amino acids. Like glucogenic amino acids include 13 amino acids. Ketogenic amino acids include leucine and lysine. Ketogenic amino acid involves leucine and lysine. But few amino acids, they act both as glucogenic and ketogenic amino acids. So that include the tyrosine, tryptophan, threonine, isoleucine, and phenylalanine. Depending on their the degradative points, these amino acid, either they can form the the glucose carbon skeleton or the intermediates of Krebs cycle, or they form acetyl CoA or acetoacetyl CoA. Next, we'll move on to the catabolism of amino acids. We all know the catabolism is the breakdown of the biomolecule. Here, the catabolism of amino acid involves this otherwise termed as nitrogen catabolism of amino acid. We know amino acids are bifunctional and they are having the acidic COOH group in the structure as well as the basic NH2 group as the functional group. So it's a bifunctional having NH2 as well as the COOH group as the functional group. So here in the catabolism of amino acid, first it involves the dissimilation or the NH2 removal or the removal of the nitrogen part, that is the NH2 part. The catabolism of the nitrogen takes place. So this takes place by three important processes. One is transamination. One is transamination. Here there is no breakdown. Instead, there is just transfer of the amino group takes place. And next is deamination. Here, as the name suggests, it will be removed from the amino acid. Amino group will be removed from the amino acid. So here there are two types. One is oxidative deamination and another one is non-oxidative deamination. Next, another process is the combination of these two, that is transamination and deamination, that is transdeamination. Transdeamination involves both transfer as well as removal of the amino group. So, amino acid catabolism, breakdown of amino acid involves the removal of the NH2 group. That removal of the NH2 group takes place by transamination, deamination, or by both, that is transdeamination. Now in this session we learn about transamination, how this process of transamination takes place inside the cell in removing or in synthesizing certain amino acid. Transamination was first discovered by the scientist Bronstein and Ritzman in 1947. These two scientists, they proposed the mechanism of transamination to remove, or how this NH2 group will be removed from the amino acid. So this is a reversible reaction. It is catalyzed by the enzyme. It's a reversible reaction. Depending on the requirement inside the cell, the transamination reaction takes place. And the site of transamination involves the mainly liver, kidney, brain, and heart. But the enzyme present in almost all tissue, mammalian tissues. And transamination can be carried out in all tissues to some extent. It's a reversible reaction. This transamination takes place mainly in liver, kidney, brain, and heart. Apart from that, all the tissue, they have the enzyme responsible for transamination. And the main enzyme involved in the transamination, they are termed as transaminases. They are also called as aminotransferases. Enzymes concerned for transamination are called transaminases or aminotransferases. And this transamination reaction involves the coenzyme, that is pyridoxal phosphate. The coenzyme required for this transamination reaction is pyridoxal phosphate. In this process of transamination, initially the amino acid reacts with the enzyme bound pyridoxal phosphate. So this pyridoxal phosphate will be attached to the transaminases. Amino acid first binds to the enzyme bound pyridoxal phosphate to form enzyme bound complex of the Chief base. Later, this complex yields keto acid of the respective amino acid and pyridoxalamine phosphate. So this NH2 group from the amino acid will be transferred to the coenzyme pyridoxal phosphate to form pyridoxalamine phosphate. Later, this pyridoxalamine phosphate reacts with the second keto acid to produce the new uh, this chip base complex. Later, this decomposes to form the second new amino acid, and it regenerates this coenzyme, that is pyridoxal phosphate, to pick up another or to bind to the another amino acid. To bind to the another amino acid. So this is regarding just an introduction regarding transamination. Now we will move on to the actual reaction, how it takes place inside the cell in removal of the amino group from one amino acid to the respective keto acid. As I told earlier, this transamination reaction is just the transfer of the functional group, that is NH2 group, from one amino acid to the respective keto acid, to the recipient molecule. The recipient molecule here is keto acid. It is having the keto group as well as the COOH group. It's usually alpha keto glutarate. So now we'll see this. So you have one amino acid, alpha amino acid, because it is having NH2 group attached to the alpha carbon atom. And now this will transfer this NH2 group from its skeleton to the keto acid, recipient molecule alpha keto acid. After transferring the NH2 group to the keto acid, so this alpha amino acid will form new keto acid, will form new keto acid. So see here, in this new keto acid, there is no NH2 group. You have keto group, that is CO group is there. Instead, this NH2 group is attached to the recipient molecule, that is the alpha keto acid. Now, this alpha keto acid will form new amino acid, will form new amino acid. This is actually transamination reaction. This is actually transamination reaction. This takes place in the presence of the enzyme transaminases. In the presence of the enzyme transaminases, these are also called as aminotransferases or transaminases. So transamination is a reversible reaction in which alpha NH2 group of one amino acid is transferred to the alpha keto acid, that is the recipient molecule, resulting in the formation of new amino acid and a new keto acid of the respective amino acid. So here, which amino acid is donating the NH2 group, respective keto acid will be formed here. So as I told earlier, this reaction involves the coenzyme, that is pyridoxal phosphate. Pyridoxal phosphate, which will be attached to the transaminases. As soon as the first alpha amino acid loses the NH2 group, this will be accepted by the coenzyme. This will be accepted by the coenzyme, which is bound to the enzyme, which is bound to the transaminase to form the complex, to form the complex of the chip-based nature. Now, this pyridoxal phosphate, after combining with NH2, will form pyridoxalamine phosphate. So, coenzyme will be aminated first. Later, this pyridoxalamine phosphate will undergo decomposes, and it will form the new amino acid. It will form the new amino acid. So this new amino acid is formed by combining with the NH2 group from the Chief base with the keto acid, with the keto acid. So NH2 group will be transferred from the chick base, that is coenzyme enzyme complex, that is the enzyme bound complex transfers the NH2 group to the keto acid. Now this keto acid decomposes and releases the respective keto acid, and new amino acid will be synthesized. New amino acid will be synthesized. So this is how transamination reaction takes place inside the cell. But there are certain limitations of transamination reactions, that is trans the aminotransferases. We know in the cell or inside the body, we'll find group transaminases. Group transaminases. While most amino acid may act as donor 1, where it donates the NH2 group, the recipient keto acid may be either alpha ketoglutarate or alpha ketoglutarate or oxaloacetate or pyruvate. So these two are the the recipient keto acid. It is to be noted that all of these recipient keto acids are the components of Krebs cycle. All of them are intermediates or components of TCA cycle. And hence they are common metabolites of the cell and are easily available inside the cell. Amino acids formed from these recipient keto acids are respectively glutamic acid, aspartic acid, and alanine. Glutamic acid, if the keto acid is alpha ketoglutarate. Then the new amino acid synthesized is aspartic acid if it is oxaloacetate, or it will be alanine if the keto acid is pyruvate. So those transaminases which can use any of these three kinds of keto acid. So the group transaminases are those transaminases can use any of this keto acid. Then another one is specific transaminases are present inside the body and they are having the clinical importance, and they use specific amino acid and specific keto acid. So group transaminases can use any of the one keto acid, alpha ketoglutarate or alpha oxaloacetate or the pyruvate. But specific transaminases are there in the body where they use a specific amino acid and specific keto acid. This include two important specific transaminases. One is referred as aspartate amino transferases or aspartate transaminases. Previously, it used to termed as SGOT, serum glutamate oxaloacetate transaminase. In this, aspartic acid is the donor amino acid, and alpha ketoglutarate is the recipient keto acid. SGOT, in SGOT, aspartate is the donor amino acid and alpha oxoglutarate is the recipient keto acid. The new amino acid synthesized usually is always glutamic acid. Is always usually glutamic acid. So aspartate donates its NH2 group to the alpha glutarate to form the glutamate. The another specific transaminase is the SGPT, is otherwise termed as alanine aminotransferases or alanine transaminases. SGPT, serum glutamate pyruvate transaminase. In this, alanine is the donor amino acid. Then alpha oxoglutarate is the recipient keto acid. So here, the new amino acid formed is always glutamic acid. So alanine donates its amino group to alpha oxoglutarate to form the glutamic acid. The another point is amino acids which do not take part in the transamination. There are a few amino acids that they do not take part in the transamination, like lysine, threonine, and proline. So these amino acid, they won't take part or they won't lose their NH2 group by transamination. And there are few transaminases which do not utilize the 3 keto acid recipient mentioned, alpha keto glutarate, or pyruvate, or another one, oxo. Another one is the 3 keto acids we know. One is uh, oxaloacetate, and another one is pyruvate, another one is glutarate. So they do not utilize any one of this keto acid recipient. The transamination is not restricted to alpha amino groups. That means it is not only specific only for the transfer of the alpha amino group. This transamination, there are conditions where delta NH2 group of ornithine or delta NH2 group will be transferred. So it's not the specific reaction only for the alpha amino group transfer. And these transaminases which are involved in transamination reaction play an important role in acting as markers in myocardial infarction, liver dysfunction, or muscular dystrophy. So by just knowing the level of these alpha or aminotransferases, you will come to know whether the patient has undergone myocardial infarction, or he is having any liver diseases, or he is undergoing muscular dystrophy or hemolytic anemia. All these you can identify by checking the normal levels of especially the specific transaminases like SGOT and SGPT. SGOT usually will be having will be very high in liver cell and also in heart cells or the myocardial cells. The enzyme is also distributed in other tissues like muscles, pancreas, kidney, etc. This enzyme is cytoplasmic and also mitochondrial. This helpful in detecting the acute myocardial infarction. The diagnosis of other impact includes like liver diseases. In this also the level of SGOT will be increased. Though the SGPT is also there in the liver, the level of SGOT will be more compared to SGPT, and SGOT level will be increased even in muscular dystrophy. And increased activity of SGOT will be identified even in acute pancreatitis and hemolytic anemia. And in normal persons, after the severe prolonged exercise, also will find the release of a lot of or a high level of SGOT. Uh, and apart from this, we know about SGPT, even this acts as the marker. This enzyme is found mainly in the liver. Liver cells are actually rich in SGPT. It is again cytoplasmic in its function and origin. Usually both SGPT and SGOT are there in liver, but when we um when we have to check the level of SGPT, usually it will be around 3 to 15 units per liter, and this will be helpful in identifying the liver diseases. Increase in both transaminases are common, SGOT and SGPT, because both are cytoplasmic. But always, usually, SGPT level will be more compared to SGOT. So this is regarding transamination reaction, how this takes place, what are the enzymes, coenzyme involved in the reaction, and how the reaction takes place, and what are the important roles performed by these transamination or the enzymes involved in the transamination, like group transaminases or specific transaminases, how they play a role in detecting the impaired condition in the body. Apart from that, The few amino acid will not lose their amino group by transamination, and this is not the specific reaction, not only specific to the alpha amino group. So transamination could be used even for the transfer of the delta amino group from one molecule to another molecule, especially in the ornithine, where it transfers its amino group, that is delta NH2 group. So in this session, we learned how the amino acid metabolism will be initiated, especially the catabolism. First, NH2 group will be removed, and later carbon skeleton will be undergoing the reaction in Krebs cycle and finally converted into carbon dioxide and water. That is by decarboxylation. And I hope you understood this session. Thank you.